Right. That's we're live streaming.
This meeting is being recorded.
So you've got to go to the part where it's double booking us. Do you remember where that is? I think it was down at the bottom, wasn't it? Yep. No, that's no.
7:01 p.m.
No, you don't want to do that. You just closed us out. I'm still co-host. So hit open again. All right. Got it. I think you got the double. Okay. Here's an echo. Okay, all right, so people get.
All right. I welcome everyone to this August 9th, 2023 Town Board meeting, including those on Zoom. Will you please join me for our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will our deputy clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Corbin,
Here.
Councilperson Chase,
Here.
Councilperson Morelli,
Here.
Susan Oliver,
Here.
Supervisor Cusey.
Here. Any announcements that I had are going to be presented by individuals who are participating in those projects, so I won't make any announcements. But we will go directly to the public comment period. Please remember 3 minutes. And I'm going to enforce that. So if I aggressively tell you you're done, please respect that. Out of respect for other speakers. Would anyone in this room like to speak in the public comment period? State your name, address.
Hello, John Morelli, 535 5 Points Road. I'm speaking on behalf of the Rush Comprehensive Plan today. We had originally planned. Hello, is that working?
Sounds like it.
Is that working?
You had there's a green light on in the backside right now.
Should be okay now, John, try that.
Hello. Okay. We had originally planned to have the comprehensive plan, the draft comprehensive plan available for public review from July 20th to August 8th or so. That had to be shifted around because we had some scheduling difficulties, but it's now online and it's available and it's at the library and it's at the town clerk's office. So it is available and the deadline now is August 22nd. We would like comments on the comprehensive plan by August 22nd. So I'm kind of jumping around here. On the table over here are these little cards that say basically public review of the draft Rush Comprehensive Plan. It's 170 pages long. This is the report. However, there's also something called an executive summary, which is the land use, I'm sorry, the strategies and recommended actions for the comprehensive plan. So you're welcome to look at these however you choose. If you go online, you could download them, you could look at them. You could go to the library, they have 2 full copies. They can't leave the building, but you can sit down in the library and look at them. There's also a host of these executive summaries. The executive summaries are 8 pages long, so they're a lot easier to get through. One suggested approach, and by no means am I saying this you should do it, but is to look at the executive summary, look at the intended actions, and then decide what you want to look at in more detail in the full report. So either way that works. If you went online this morning, the executive summary was not there online. It now is, so it's available in either the full form or the executive summary. Oh, also, at the very end of this report, on the very last page, is something I'm proud of. It's Appendix A. It's Mary Ann's suggestion that we put this in here. Summary of public engagement activities. We've done a lot in terms of outreach to make sure that the public is seeing this, and we decided to list it all in there. They put it in the appendix, but it's better than not at all. I think that's all. 170 pages for the full document, 8 pages for the executive summary. Library has 2 full copies and a handful of the executive summaries. The town clerk's office has a handful of executive summaries. They have 1 copy, but it's probably the town copy, so we want to be a little protective of that. Any questions? Okay. I think I got it all.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Would anyone
Thank you.
else like to speak? How about on Zoom?
Valerie, I think you have in the chat, they sent the messages to you directly. I do not have them on mine. Oh, it was just Dan, just me asking Dan if he could hear us. I see Mary Ann's hand up, Supervisor.
I'm waiting for
Oh.
another,
There's no one there.
no one on Zoom.
No.
Yes, name and address, please.
Hi, Mary Ann Rizzo, 25 Stoll Road. Hey, now you hear me. Okay. Okay, try to stay into the 3 minutes. I want to say that I hope that you do not pass the law for the 10-inch grass, but I'd like to say more about that another time. We're a rural community. I'll say more about that next or sometimes. I wanted to talk to you about the Community Forest Conservation Grant. It's sponsored by the DEC. And I can tell you why it's important, but basically the grant will fund the acquisition of forest land. It's in the 2nd round of grants. It opened in July 24th. It closed on October 11th of this year. We first would have to find 10 or more acres in our town, and 75% of that land must be forested, and it's to preserve it, to keep it forever forested. We would then get an agreement from a landowner, and we would pay them $50,000 to $300,000. The grants are $50,000 to $300,000. And so I'd love to say more about it. Like I said before, Carol Barnett and I went to a workshop on it. Right now, I just want to put it out to the board and the boards, and just say, well, if you do know of anyone that might be interested in this program, and if so, the Rush RPA would be willing to work on it. It has to be submitted by the municipality. There is a 10% matching fee, but if you can suggest it, and we could take it from there, and then if we ever found someone, I would come back and try to get you to go along with it. But let's just find someone first. I also would like to talk about renaming the BOCES land. And I'm going to ask that you please do not rename the BOCES land, which is now called the Rush Riverside Refuge. Please do not call it a farm. It's 215 acres, and it was deeded to us as park, recreation, and ancillary uses. it would be like calling Tinker Park, Tinker Farm, Mendon Ponds Park, Mendon Ponds Farm. In 2010, our town accepted it and we received it that we would, and we received it under the premise that we would use it for park and recreation. Horse's Friend is now one tenant in the park. And if the objective is to make it an everlasting presence there, let's find other ways to have Horse's Friend thrive in our park. To call it a farm is to change it to a farm. Sounds like that. It sounds like a duck. It's a park first and foremost. Let's be careful. Let's have careful consideration, please. And think of the ramifications. If this were to change, it would be a signal that it's changing from a park to a farm. And what's the objective? It's the objective historical significance. So why wouldn't we call then Stony Brook Park, Sheldon Park, or Collins Park? And what that was what it used to be called by the white settlers. Well, I'm not sure exactly. It's the closest reference I could get by looking at the map. Do we honor do we honor the indigenous people? Do we really honor them sometimes?
Thank you, Mary Ann.
I have just 10 seconds left, Jerry, if I may. Why would we not honor the indigenous people? They were here longer and originally. I think it's an error to call it a park. Please don't give away the park.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Okay, I just want to say that sometimes when I have like.
No, I would like you to sit down and respect other people's time of 3 minutes. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes. Name and address, please.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Barnett. I live in Rush. And I wanted to say, can you hear me? Sound, you're this close, it doesn't sound like. I wanted to say that I am opposed to the renaming of the Rush Riverside Refuge and to the particular name proposed. At least I think I am opposed to it because the printed resolution that is available for the public does not say what you're considering, and you do have a proposed resolution on the agenda. So it makes it hard to weigh in when it's not clear whether you've changed your minds or you're considering something different. I think it would be more transparent to show people what you're considering. It's not like you couldn't change it in the course of your discussion. I just want to say also as a process matter, last time on the day after the town board meeting, I sent an email to everyone on the town board and the town clerk. And, you know, I've done this many times and maybe it's just finally gotten to me. I would like to get a response. I don't mean a substantive response. I mean an acknowledgement that it was received. In this day and age, an email is a communication. It's just like a letter. And I think that that's what should be done. I also want to say, Catherine Hankins was not able to be here tonight. She sent an email yesterday to everyone on the town board with 2 attachments, and she would like to say that she hopes that will be carefully considered and acknowledged and carefully considered as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak? Anyone from Zoom?
I don't have any, and I don't think I see any on the deputy clerk. No.
All right, then we will move on to the approval of minutes. We had a special board meeting on July 19th. Does anyone have a resolution to pass?
We just received that late this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to even open up the attachment.
Understand. How about the regular board meeting of July 26th?
That one we had.
That one we have, there is a change amendment to it that I'm not quite sure. Do I make that now, David, or do we make the resolution or the motion first and then add the potential change?
You could propose it now.
Okay.
As a- just make this.
On the, let me find my notes. On the July 26th town board meeting, we had a resolution to schedule a public hearing. And on the draft minutes, it does not have the proper date. So I'd like to amend on page 6. The resolution to schedule a public hearing shall be on the 23rd day of August at 7:15 for the purpose of adopting that local law. So I move to approve the amended minutes of July 26, 2023 is submitted by Deputy Town Clerk Orbaker. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Williver,
You're muted, Dan.
Aye.
Supervisor QC.
Aye, thank you. Now, we can move on to Councilperson Morelli.
Supervisor, there was a July 5th minute that was not put on the agenda that we have not approved yet. They were tabled at our last meeting because of a change, and I guess I have not had a chance to read an email that just came in about it. I don't know if anyone else has.
Okay.
I don't know if, can we table it one more?
Do they remain tabled?
Yes.
Very good. Councilperson Morelli, you get 2 introductions.
I do.
Yeah,
Why is that?
because Amber had to tell me something that I,
The agenda might be wrong, Supervisor. I think
Oh,
Councilperson.
roll over. That's the old one.
okay, then Councilperson Willie.
Having reviewed all vouchers of abstract 8-1 of August 9th, 2023. I authorized to pay the amount of $73,473.11, which includes Fund AA General for $15,250.93, Fund DA Highway for $57,000, $129.73, and LL Library for $225.64. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Before you take the roll, if I can add an amendment to it, Dan, it wasn't on the abstract, but it was on the summary. There's a fund for a special district of $225.64 that I think we have to pay. So
$225.64 was a LL Library charge for
no, it was
that amount?
it was special district. It wasn't on the resolution that we got, but when I saw the summary, it was on there. So to expend those funds, I think we have to add it to that. Like, does anyone want me to pull it up just so they can all see it? You tell me, I've got it.
Yeah, put it up.
Okay.
I remember seeing it, but
All right, can everyone see that now?
Mhm.
See it down at the very bottom
Mhm.
where it says SD fund of 200 and so if we add them all up, we've got to add that additional one in there.
and it includes the total, I think includes it.
Right,
73, am I correct? 73, 453, 11.
11, yep.
Yes. So it is included in the total?
So it's that 225.54 is listed under library in the resolution.
Ah.
Yes.
So that's what that's why Dan said library. there.
Oh,
Oh,
So
you're right.
libraries is screwed
Library's
up.
different.
So library should be
46.
$846.61.
up, and then the special drainage or special district drainage is at 225.64 then. Okay. That makes sense.
Total.
Just the library fund was swapped with the special district. Okay.
Right,
So with that
So
amendment,
total,
are we good?
yes. Is there a second?
I'll second the amended abstract.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase.
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Williver,
Aye.
Supervisor Cusick.
Aye. There's no transfer of funds. We can move on to reports from town board members, and we'll start with Deputy Supervisor Corbin.
Thank you, Supervisor. I attended the August monthly meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm sorry, I will attend it on August 17th if anyone is interested. It's the third Thursday of the month. There's no applications, but it's a working session. There is a public hearing on August 23rd for the local law to adopt chapter 120-64.4 at 7:15. This is regarding the removal of overgrown weeds and grass. Just want to make sure everyone was aware of that. And I also attended the Rush Fun Days at a Horses Run with my granddaughter and family this past Sunday. I could not believe how many people were there. It was well attended. Kids can ride horses. It's all free, wagon rides, paint rocks, lasso, pretend steer, and they even had ice cream, which was, one of my favorites, and a lot more. Their next Sunday Fun Day is Sunday, September 3rd from 11 to 1. Again, open, free to everyone. So get out there. If the weather's great, you'll love it. That's all.
And next, Councilperson Morelli.
So since the last board meeting on August 2nd, I attended a meeting with our town engineers from MRB to go over some new people who will be working, go over what was going on here in Rush with the new people who will be working with the town. David Doyle is here to help us with the water district work we have to do tonight. But that was very informative, very helpful, brought everybody on board with what we have going on in town, which is a lot. And it was a great meeting. I also on earlier today participated in a Zoom call that was coordinated and arranged by our Congressman Joe Morelli for his whole 25th legislative district to walk through how to look for and obtain grants, federal funds. And it was all pretty much a how-to. And the assistant deputy director of the Department of Health and Human Services had a PowerPoint display walking through how to navigate, how to find things, what grants are available, what they're about. So I attended. I also forwarded the notice to Pat Stevens and to Sue Mee, who also participated because they have things going on, looking for money to do things for town projects. So I'm glad we did it. You're up to date.
Thank you. And Dan, because you seem to go last all the time, you're next.
I attended a comprehensive plan meeting on August 2nd, going through the comprehensive plan for the last time before we put it to the website. Everything should look good. That's it.
Thank you very much. And how about?
I have nothing to report this meeting. Been busy elsewhere.
Well, that's understandable. And how about our deputy clerk?
Nothing to report.
That's understandable. How about Dave Doyle from MRB?
The only thing I have is the agenda regarding the seeking for water district.
And our town attorney?
Reports tonight.
All right. I just wanted to say that we have two events going on in town. One is with a horse's friend and one is with the New York Museum of Transportation. I am going to post these on the website. I know that traditionally we have not done that, but these are not independent businesses. These are entities that will make a difference in how many people come to Rush and get entertained by such venues. So they will be on the website, and I think it looks like a good time to me. Saturday, August 12th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get a train ride, go visit the farm, the horse farm, and you can read more when we get it posted. All right. We're going to move on to old business, and that first item under old business is our proposed resolution regarding the Rush Riverside Refuge name change.
And I know last meeting, Supervisor, we kind of tossed around a couple of different names. And since we meet in an open forum like this, there was no decisions made ahead of time. So that's what our discussion and hopefully decision will be tonight as to which name to move forward with. We had two. We had the Parkland at White Springs Farm, and Councilman Chase had come up with
It was just Town of Rush,
Town of Rush,
White
White
Springs.
Springs Farm,
or we could just go with White Spring Farm. That's, I believe, our third option.
or just White Springs Farm.
You want to pull the board on which
You go for it,
you've heard the two proposals.
or three, just
Or
White
three.
Springs Farm.
Does anyone feel it resonates more so than the others?
I like the Town of Rush, White Springs Farm.
I would be fine with that also.
I'm also fine with that.
Well, if you'd like, then I can read it with that. If we could try another name.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Whereas a parcel of land consisting of approximately 215.729 acres and commonly known as the Rush Riverside Refuge, the property was conveyed by the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, First Supervisory District, Monroe County, New York, to the town of Rush on May 12, 2011, and recorded in the Monroe County Clerk's Office on May 19, 2011 at 10998, page 346. And whereas the property was granted subject to the condition that it be used for park and recreational purposes and other ancillary uses. And whereas the town board believes that formally establishing the property to be known as the Town of Rush, White Springs Farm, would recognize the purpose and history of the property. And now therefore be it resolved that the property shall hereafter be known as the Town of Rush, White Springs Farm. And I think that's all. Oh, I have to do the next part, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Bolivar,
Aye.
Supervisor Hughes.
Aye. Thank you very much. We now move on to a discussion of the Town of Rush Water District, the seeker full environmental assessment form.
So I think, and I think David, you'll be David Doyle, but David Howe always set us straight where we go astray. Looking at my notes in terms of sequencing of this, I'm guessing that the first thing that we probably have to do is to now declare us as the lead agency before we go any further.
All true.
Okay, so I can go ahead and read that resolution.
Yes, you can, and hopefully you'll announce that all of the county agencies, et cetera, approved us being lead.
And don't we do this with a lot of the other projects? We take the agency, like on the solar projects and stuff
Yes.
like, it's very similar. This is nothing different. It's not
Correct.
out of whack. This isn't something new. This is normal procedure, just so everyone's aware.
Okay,
And I have it up, I believe, for what you're gonna read, Jean.
okay,
This is the lead agency one?
Yep.
The
Okay.
right one?
yes, I can't read that, so
No,
I'll read the one from, the one that's
This
in
one's
front of me.
easy.
Okay, so I so move to designate the town as the lead agency. Whereas the Town of Rush Town Board, hereinafter referred to as Town Board, on June 14th, 2023, declared its intent to be designated the lead agency for the Town of Rush Central Water District project under the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review (SEQR) regulations. And whereas the town board has provided written notices to this effect to the involved and interested agencies. And whereas the town board has not received any written objections from the involved agencies to the boards being designated as the lead agency under the SEQR regulations. And whereas the town board has previously determined that it is the most appropriate agency to ensure the coordination of this action and for making the determination of significance thereon under the SEQR regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby designate itself as the lead agency for the action identified above herein. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Sorry, Jerry.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Bolivar,
Aye.
Supervisor Cusi.
Aye.
So I guess the next thing that we need to do then is to go through the full environmental assessment. We already did part 1, and now we go to part 2.
Right, so assuming that members of the town board have reviewed part 2, they're on the first one. And the part 3, which is the determination of significance. If there are any questions about that, part 2 basically takes any of the 18 major categories and identifies whether there is a potential or not. If there is a potential impact, it checks some boxes for various categories, and those major categories are small to moderate impacts, expected or moderate to large impacts. In this case, as is the case with utility projects at this time, all the boxes that were checked yes are checked no, small to moderate. So that's the information that our one account use to just where you could show that there is a potential significant adverse effect. There is none. Okay, sorry.
So, thank you. I don't know if anybody else had a chance, but I sat down and read through the whole thing, every question, and I agree with your recommendations where there was the potential for something, but that it was not significant. And I'm comfortable with the way it's been prepared. I'm certainly willing to discuss any one or all of these questions with anybody other than my fellow board members.
No, I'm fine with it.
I did the same. I am fine with the preparation. I did not have any further questions.
Councilperson Wooliver.
I do have a question. Is all this still covered under ARPA funds, the funding for it? For the engineering work?
all our work thus far, yes,
Okay,
because that is specifically one of the specific things that ARPA was earmarked for. So we're, yep,
In our contract that we have with them
yes,
for this project.
yep,
very
The,
good.
the Treasury expanded the approved uses since we initially allocated the entire amount to the water district development. But we didn't expand our uses of the ARPA funds.
So are you ready for the next resolution then?
I am.
do we have to go through question by question, David?
No, you don't. As long as you've all acknowledged that you've reviewed the suggested draft which is prepared by MRB, and you have no question, that you considered all of those individually and you don't have to discuss it, that's fine. You can move on to reviewing comments, not giving comments on part 3, the part 3.
Okay,
The same type of discussion we just had, you repeat that for part 3.
Okay.
And if you don't have any further discussions about part 3, then you can move on to the proposed secret resolution.
okay, so the part 3 is the evaluation of the magnitude and importance of project impacts and determination of significance. And this is a seeker type 1 status. And we are identifying part 1, 2, and 3 in this. And the recommendation is that this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued, and I was fine with that.
Fine with me.
Okay.
So am I.
So if we are okay and, have no other questions or need clarification from our attorney or engineer, can, I think, next step, read the resolution to okay this and move on and continue with this project, right?
That's correct.
So I so move that whereas the Town of Rush Town Board, hereinafter referred to as Town Board, has determined the above referenced action to be a type 1 action, and this is the seeker resolution, which is the determination of environmental significance. It's a type 1 action pursuant to Part 617 of the State Environmental Quality Review seeker regulations. And whereas the Town Board has reviewed and accepted the completed full environmental assessment form, parts 1, 2, and 3, including the supporting information on the action prepared by the MRB group, hereinafter referred to as town engineer. And whereas the Town Board has completed the coordinated review and public comment period provided for under the seeker regulations. And whereas the Town Board has designated itself as lead agency under the seeker regulations for making the determination of significance upon said action on a separate resolution at the August 9th, 2023 meeting. And whereas the Town Board has given consideration to the criteria for determining significance as set forth in section 617.7 C1 of the seeker regulations, and the information contained in full environmental assessment form parts 1, 2, and 3. Now therefore be it resolved that said action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts based on the review of the full environmental assessment form, and be it finally resolved that the Town Board does hereby make the determination of non-significance on said action, and the town supervisor is hereby directed to sign the full environmental assessment form, EAF, Part 3, the negative declaration as evidence of the town board determination of environmental non-significance. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Person Wulliver,
Aye.
Supervisor Cusey.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Oh. I think we did everything that we needed to do up to this point.
Up to this point, we're
And we
good.
just need to get this to the supervisor to sign.
Yep.
That's exactly what
I'll leave that with you.
you can leave
You
it
want
with
it?
me and I will make sure it gets to the right authority.
Okay. Anything else, Amber?
No, I'm looking at Mr.
Yeah, eventually we'll need, formal resolutions, that the town clerk will certify.
Okay.
Yep.
So, if you could follow that up with maybe an email, and exactly what you need,
Yes,
that
absolutely.
would be great.
I think she can sign, I think the resolutions you read can just be signed by the clerks of this with that certification that I have.
that you had for the other things.
Just a standard.
Yeah.
Having done so many of these, we just walked right through that.
Do we need Mr. Doyle anymore?
Oh, of course we need him. But if he wants to go home, that will be fine.
So I believe the next step, just for people, and I'm going with your notes here that you gave us, is the next step, now that we have gone through this, is that you will forward this negative declaration now to the DEC. Is that correct?
We'll actually publish it in the environmental notice.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. And then you prepare the environmental impact report and all of that, whatever.
Right, the environmental report is a big part of the funding application development, and seeker in turn is a big part of the environment.
Okay. Okay. So we're just moving forward in step by step in this proposed district, and hopefully to get our funding for it. Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Big
thank you
lift.
very much. May I move on?
Yes.
May I move on?
You never asked Jean.
Yes, I do. Is Doug Scarson available?
I am here, Mr. Supervisor.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, doesn't.
I couldn't find the letter I wrote. I gave it to the town clerk yesterday, but I have lost track of it since. What I'd like you to do, Doug, is explain the program and our part in it.
The program came from the County of Monroe, which was actually driven by FEMA to update a plan which Rush has had for many years, but it hadn't been updated in the last 5 years. So the supervisor and I sat down at different times and updated segments of the plan as they were sent to us by the county. Actually, they're sent to us by an organization that was hired by the county from California. With that all have been completed, we ended up with a 38-page document. And that document contained basically everything about the Rush community with regards to hazards, mitigation if there was ever a disaster. And basically the plan was pretty much up to date, but we had to update a few of the things. And so now the county is asking for the individual town village boards to adopt a resolution with the 2023 hazard mitigation plan. And that's where we're at right now.
And I'd like to add that some of those sessions were very, very difficult because we couldn't go on what has happened in the past. We had to predict what could happen in the future. And with climate change and all that stuff, setting off some different thinking about such matters, we had to suppose, and I think we're lucky because Rush isn't really a vulnerable town to a lot of things, but we had to do our best to put together our thoughts about what could happen in the town of Rush. Would you agree with that, Doug?
Yes, I would, 100%.
All right, so we will get my resolution and pass it after I find out who did what with it. And for tonight, we can move on. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The next resolution we've got is the proposed resolution to recycle obsolete electronics and the shredding of documents.
I'll read it.
Does the board have any comment, questions?
This came from the clerk's office, correct?
Yes, it did.
Seems like a pretty reasonable thing to do for me.
Yeah, it's got to be done.
I don't have any issue with that.
Go for it.
Please.
I so move to authorize entering into an agreement with Certified Document Destruction, Rochester, New York, an electronic recycling and shredding company for shredding and recycling the disposal of obsolete and inoperative town electronic equipment and confidential documentation for an amount not to exceed $550. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Wolliver,
You're muted, Dan, sorry. I have to, we get feedback from you.
Aye.
Supervisor Kusey.
Aye. Thank you all. We can now move on to the proposed resolution regarding approved training credits. And I think that is something that we can just read the resolution and pass it.
I would like to have a little discussion on it because having been on the zoning board for many, many years and being liaison to planning and zoning, I've witnessed the chairs or designees of those boards be able to give very good educational information that is specific for what they're learning or need to learn, especially with the new boards that we have. And the bullets that we've been given to consider for those that would have training. If I were on the zoning board, I could go and sign up for something with the county on flood relief. It has absolutely nothing to do with zoning, but I could get my continuing credit because it is approved by the county or the state or association of towns. And I have witnessed what our chairs or designees on those boards have been able to give presentations on. And I would like to add to this resolution. I'll just read it, see if you like it. We don't like it. We want to wordsmith it. There's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullets. I'd like to add a additional one. Presentations by chair or designee of said board must be relevant to the duties of said board, Copies of internally prepared materials need to be presented to the town clerk in advance in digital format. So that's what I am proposing.
I have no trouble with that addition.
It's fine with me.
I support that.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that briefly.
Yeah.
before.
Dan Williver, any opinion?
I'm okay with it.
Right then. Whereas members of the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals are required by New York State to receive annual training in relation to matters relevant to planning and zoning, and the town board is authorized to identify the type of training which is eligible for training credit. Apologize for that. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby designates the following providers as approved sources for eligible training credit for members of the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals. Training provided by the town attorney or town engineer. Classes, presentations by planning officials from any county, example, annual Monroe County Planning Zoning School Program. Classes, presentations by the Association of Towns, New York Planning Federation, NYMIR, or a similar organization. Topics must be relevant to towns. Classes, presentations by the Department of State or other New York State agency. Topics must be relevant to towns. Classes, presentations by any third-party state, national educational provider. Presentations by chair or designee of said board must be relevant to the duties of said board. Copies of internally prepared materials need to be presented to the town clerk in advance in digital format. Unless otherwise specified by the training provider, 1 credit hour shall be granted for each hour of training. Each member of the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals shall provide proof of attendance to the town clerk, who shall maintain a record of attendance for each such member. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase.
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Bolivar,
Aye.
Supervisor QC.
Aye. As amended.
Oh, I will send it to the clerk for
Thank you very much. We can now move on to another resolution driven by the town clerk, and that is the proposed resolution to include the issuance of one-day marriage officiant and fee. Would you read the proposal?
anyone else want to read?
I don't know, I don't have that one on my computer. I would actually.
All
I
right.
don't know where it went.
I so move to include issuance of the one-day marriage officiant license fee of $25 to the adopted Town of Rush fee schedule, and such to be handled by the town clerk pursuant to New York State legislation amending domestic relations law as of March 28, 2023. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase.
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Bolivar,
Aye.
Supervisor QC.
Aye. That being all the business of the town board to process tonight allows us to adjourn this meeting and go into a budget meeting. I want to make sure that everyone knows that this isn't a budget approval meeting. This is merely an opportunity for the department heads to be able to present their budget and allow the town board to ask questions and allow the town board to study the budget material that they received today so that in the future we can have an approval meeting. The approval will not happen tonight. So I think, first of all, we'd let Kirsten Flass present her budget.
Do we want to adjourn? We have to vote it out for the
You
adjournment?
should, so discussion should still be a matter of the public. It's still a public meeting.
Okay.
So you don't, I wouldn't adjourn it until after you're done with the budget workshop. So the regular business of the town board is completed.
Okay.
People are free to stay or leave if they want. But it's still, we should still be on Zoom and everything like that.
Understood.
Just carry on with it.
The need for transparency.
Absolutely.
You're conducting public business, obviously, you're having a
Yep.
meeting with the.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Drive safely. Do we need David?
You've had a long day.
Yeah.
haven't you?
I'm happy to stay if need be, but if not.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
The part is.
Yep.
We can follow tomorrow.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, David.
Want to do a stretch break?
That's a good idea.
Stretch.
I apologize, library, even though you got their explanation budget, the page that I printed out did not actually have 2024 on it.
Oh.
It cut it off, but I didn't realize.
Amber and I waited for you for 2 hours to take you out to dinner
When?
tonight.
I don't think so.
It was a wonderful dinner. We had corn.
Chase's corn.
John didn't.
All right, who are we starting with, Supervisor Library?
We are starting with the library budget by Kirsten Flass.
Oh, let me give you the microphone. Yep.
No, we're out of order because I think that.
You're Amber, I can grab it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
First, I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting us to come and speak with the town board tonight. This is my 18th budget. And I am really pleased to see us going back to the schedule of events where we come in and visit with the town board as department heads. I think that form of communication is very valuable to the community and to each other. So thank you for that. So I did send you all my budget that was approved by the library board back in July. You have a printed out version and a PDF version that was emailed to you this week. And then I just received from Janice the 2024 tentative budget that she has put together. So I am just looking at it for the first time tonight. And I'm just want to say I'm really happy to see that our interest and earnings account is projected to be very healthy next year. So I want to thank the board for looking into managing that fund in a different way. That's great news for the town and for taxpayers. So thank you for that.
Do you want to mention that that fund is separate from the two other main funds in town, the general and the highway?
What do you mean exactly?
That was money that Janice invested in New York class, was it?
Yes, correct. Yep, and so we can keep each fund separate, so that way there's no hoping.
Thank you.
So that's interest earned on the tax amount that the library needs for the upcoming year. So you also have a couple of pages of budget notes that go through the budget line by line, explaining any increases or decreases and why. I try to be as thorough as possible. I will say that the main reason my budget's going up this year is because of the New York State mandated minimum wage going up over 5%, 5.6%, which does impact every level of employee at the library. And I have myself and I have a senior clerk level and a clerk level. And it's really important that we maintain the distinction between the levels because of responsibilities, different responsibilities that those clerks have. The senior clerks run the library when I'm not there, so they have a lot of responsibility. Were there any questions? Did everybody get a chance to read my budget notes? Or does anybody have any questions? I don't really feel the
I
need to
did.
answer.
Thank you for the copy.
You're welcome.
Are you gonna go through it or do you want questions now?
Questions now would be appropriate.
Okay.
I know you mentioned in your notes about possible merit increases. Is that included in your?
Yes, I always
Budget.
include a potential merit increase for my employees. It's not a guarantee that they'll receive that merit increase. My employees do sit for an annual review. And if they are exemplary in their job performance, they will earn a step increase, which is a 3% increase. I budget for it, but it may not happen depending on their performance.
So under salaries and things like that, that's been added in. I
That's
just-
already been added in.
Thank
Yep.
you very much. My other question, which may have more to do with Janice than you, is that the flat of the insurance, utilities, things like that, I would like to see a percent. I know it's not you, but I'm just saying when I do your numbers, that's gonna change because there's
Right.
gonna be, everyone knows utilities are going up, everyone knows healthcare is going up. And I would like to see, again, through the budget office, something added on there. I don't know how that impacts your approval by your board. They have nothing to do with that part.
Right, because I was told years ago under a different town board that I don't control those funds. In other words, if I adjust my thermostat to save money, I don't get to spend the savings in my budget. It goes back to the town. And so I don't estimate what they might be, and I don't count on spending any savings. I do my best to keep the thermostat appropriate, but I don't get to manage that money if I make savings.
Right, and I totally understand that.
I agree with everything Kirsten said. Bear with me. I'm not sure I understood what you were looking for.
Under contractual for
Yeah.
insurance and utilities as well, it says flat. So if I look at the amount for the 2023 budget, it's the exact same for the projected 2024. So if we were to do all the numbers, we know that utilities are gonna go up. So I would like to see, however it is across the board for every department, if they have insurance and things like that, that there's a percentage. Otherwise, how do we calculate the tax base? Right, if that amount changes.
You got two minds working
yeah,
at it.
so-
Answer the question.
Did change that, and I thought I did, and I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure. So I actually did change that because I went through and looked at what she spent the last 2 years. And then I calculated it by what our GE and what National Grid is going up this year. So she is actually underspent the last 2 years, so I actually lowered hers on that she did. I just tonight. And like I said, I apologize that that was not printed out on there.
No, that's okay.
so
It's our first time
it's,
through.
um,
It's okay.
No, I did lower it a little bit because she actually has been underspending. So,
Did you add though that we know utilities are gonna go up
yes.
That's what
so
you just
our GE and both of my
and National
several-
Grid?
Yes, both of them are both published and I went by the published numbers. I know National Grid had a meeting last week and they were talking about going up 20% over the next few years, but I went by what has already been state approved. So that has not been.
Which is 12%.
I'd have to look at my notes. And
That's okay, Janice. That's all. Don't worry about it. It's just a question.
No, it's nothing anybody can control.
Right, that's. When I see flat, I think it's gonna go up.
So, yeah, so on her, she originally did the flat, but then I re-estimated it.
Right.
Like I said, I got, like, Ruth knows what we spent this year, what we spent last year, and she's us.
Super, thank.
So, just to be clear, for that area, for those contractual appropriations, we're totaling 11,200, and you're saying now it's 8,500? That I want to make sure I'm looking.
Yeah, so it's.
A reduction.
428 now.
This
Not
year.
even 400, it's.
420.
That's what I'm looking at, 20, 8,500 as opposed to
11.
11,2.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
good news.
Yeah, no, I just, that's good.
That never happens.
Well, Kristen's very good at.
Any other questions?
Nope,
Hold on.
that's a nice explanation.
She does an excellent job.
So can I don't know if I'm allowed to. in
Yes,
this
you
session.
are allowed to.
Okay, so I think when I look at the wage schedule,
Yes,
everything's printed so nice and big. And it's easy.
I noticed that.
So everybody is hourly except for one.
that's correct.
Okay,
I'm the only salary employee.
okay, all right, so I understand the 5.6% increase because of they're constrained because of minimum wage. And you have to have people who are more experienced, you know, get the increase so that they're making more than somebody brand new and so on. And so I understand that 5.6%, but you also apply to yours,
Yes,
okay? Based on,
they need to be equitable to all employees.
okay, but you're not minimum wage,
No, but each
you're hourly.
title is going to be impacted by minimum wage. So if some employees are receiving an increase of 5.6%, it's our belief, and the library board agreed with me, that every library employee should get the same percentage increase so that we maintain the differences amongst titles.
So I understand that for everybody else. I'm not saying that you're not worth it. Trust me, it's not a critique of your abilities or performance at all. I'm just trying to look at across the board for, you know, what the town needs to do. And then this is just a workshop, you know, my arm could be persuaded otherwise, but this is what I did today. Looking at all this stuff, doing my own research.
Yep.
And, you know, and disregarding,
Anyone's salary, maybe we should go.
I'm just going to say across the board, that I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but when I look at what average increases are projected to be, are more in their range from, you know, 3.8, 4% range projected. I went to different sources, reputable sources of what the project increase is anticipated. And so this is a lot higher than that. I just want us to be thinking about that people aren't giving out 5.6% wage increases.
Recall when I started this segment of the meeting, I wanted this to be a workshop, and I want all of us to look at this material and come back if you have gastrointestinal distress about it. Because the material you produced is significantly different in terms of percentages. This material.
That's all I want us to understand and take it from there.
Yes.
I'm not saying, you know, I think we should think about that, what people in general are expected to get. And then if we're going to be different, why is that? You know, other than the people who are not salaried, and I understand these other levels getting the, you know, we don't control that. I get that.
Like utility bills.
Yeah, so I understand it. I'm just talking about in general across the board for everybody else. You know, what are we thinking? We haven't had one conversation about this. So that, and you're up first. So whoever was standing there, I was going to bring it up. So again, it was, you know, I want to understand where the town is coming from and it's not just you, it's just throughout this budget. When I go down, and I'd like to get it in Excel format if I can. Good, thank you. Because I mean, I just went and did my own calculations all day, all afternoon, looking at. I gotta understand what I'm looking at when I look year over year. It helps me to think about things. So I think in general, we need to think about that, and we can talk about all the other numbers. But you know, before, you know, we get too far down the road saying, oh, yeah. I want to know what everybody thinks about in terms of what's the ballpark numbers we're going to be shooting for as a town.
That opportunity will come.
Okay, that's all I have to say about that. And it happens to affect that line item there.
Sure. Understand.
I will say I did look across Monroe County at what other library directors are making, and that is right in line when you compare my salary range to other directors in terms of library population size.
Okay.
That's about where it
That's
should
valid.
be.
I didn't have that.
I think
in
if you also
detail.
compare me to other town employees who are full-time salaried, you would see that I'm on the lower end of full-time salary employee. So that's something to consider.
And there's a box floating around, so if anyone is allergic,
See it.
be mindful. If I get up and run, that's why. Janice did give us updated for retirement, social security and things like that, so I won't ask you anything until I look through that.
Okay, and I don't budget for those because
That's
those
what I'm
I
saying.
don't control those
That's
budget
exactly
lines.
right.
Yep.
Yep. It's not too.
I do everything I can in the parts of my budget I control to be as fiscally responsible and careful with taxpayer money. My door is always open. Anybody could come in and ask me any question about my budget or what I've spent on vouchers for the month, and I'm happy to respond. I have nothing to hide. It's not my money I'm spending. But I'm
And
also a
I'll
taxpayer.
vouch for that. I've been down there at her office for.
Yeah,
3
anybody
years.
can come to a library board meeting and join us if they'd like to see how we do things.
What has been your turnover over the past year?
What kind of turnover? Staffing?
Employee turnover.
I had major turnover right after COVID. When we supplied our reopening plan, I lost half of my employees. And then I kept the employees I hired after that. I've only lost one in the last, 2 years now, since we reopened. Yeah, they recently replaced one.
Dan?
No, I don't have any questions.
Dan Weaver?
I have to keep muting them because there's a like a second delay.
Do you have any questions?
I'm good with it.
Thank you for the detail.
You're welcome.
It's always,
Yes.
It's important to me to keep track of things very well because
Oh, I know
again,
you do.
it's not my money. So
I know you do.
thank you for your time tonight. Out if you have questions.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janice, do you have any that you'd like to go next? Or leave it up to me? All right. I really am looking forward to Pat's recreation budget.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for letting us approach you this year and talk to you in person. It makes such a big difference, as Kirsten said.
You're welcome.
My budget hasn't changed so much. Last year, I didn't request any raises for my staff because of the increases in minimum wage. So this year I did give merit raises to some of the staff because in order for me to retain coaches or staff that's credible,
Yeah.
I do have to pay them what would be considered their normal rate in any other job for that position. As far as a raise, I didn't put in for a raise. Janice asked me to put a percentage in here so that I did go back and re-enter the percentage into this budget.
For everyone?
Yeah, for everyone. One thing that I'm noticing is that I'm starting to step away more from programming and having staff and going more towards the contracted programs. Like I have a lot of programs that we have a contract with. They have people that come to the program and we cut them a check and we keep a percentage. They're willing to give us their insurance, they're willing to give us a contract. And it just seems to be that's the way the programs are shifting. Honestly, a lot of my time is on the pavilion and the Rush Riverside Refuge. I'm so sorry. I called it that. White Springs Farm. So between those things, they're taking up a lot more time than actually programs. It does shift. Like the Fall Festival, I'm busy with that again. And after school will be busy in a couple of weeks. So my times do shift. You will see on here that my job description only has recreation supervisor. I did ask Pam about a separate job description or a job. She has not heard back from the county. So I didn't know what to do with splitting my job and putting something else in here because I don't have anything. So I'm really sorry about that.
That's not your problem.
Right.
I know, but I wanted to show the difference because as a recreation supervisor, I'm at step 5 or, whatever. So I don't even know where I would be a step in that other position or what it would be or how much it would be or.
But we'll have to get that straightened out because I know Janice and I and Pat have been working on that for a while. And so we put it into the step schedule of the organizational minutes of your other positions. So
Right, right.
we want to make sure that that's reflective in the budget for next year. So there's no questions.
Have you calculated a % program increase?
We are gonna increase the rate of the pavilion rentals. We are gonna change that the first of the year. I told Amber as far as a resolution, I don't think we have to worry about it till like November. Because it'll be, usually if it starts in January, it's easier to make that transition. I mean, we do accept the ones that are already in place. And then we make that transition as January comes about. So we will be making that change. I haven't changed the other programs so much because what I pay the staff and what we get in the programs, it doesn't really come close because the staffing, like volleyball was probably $450 and we had 3,000 we brought in revenue. So it doesn't really come close. So I haven't had a need to really increase the cost.
Have you calculated based on history what the increases will amount to in a gross number?
5,000 more this year, right? From when the original grant, it's like 4,000 more when I add in the merits and the percentages. So that's overall, the whole department is like 4,000 more.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone have any questions?
No.
When you went back and you said you initially didn't factor in any increases for a salary, but then you went back and did it. What did you use?
What Janice told me to use was 5.9. Oh, I thought it was 5. Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I'll have to go back and change it again. Yeah, I did calculate a few merits and I'm sorry, I misunderstood what the percentage was. I misunderstood that. So I'll have to go back and change that again.
What percentage did you use?
I did 5.9 because I thought that's what she
Oh,
told me,
okay,
but she said
okay.
5.5. So I'm sorry
big-
about that.
Not a,
No, but it's important that you also add the merit so that we come down that we know that is.
The only merits I gave her for after school staff because
Oh,
I
that's
didn't give
okay.
them,
You don't have to tell us that part.
I'm sorry, but it's only
Just-
for,
Just that
At
it's
some
added
point, we're gonna see that other detail.
in the
Yes.
executive session.
Yeah.
right?
yeah, there's,
Okay.
yes, there was only a couple for that. So sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. As far as the fall festival, the costs for that have gone up, the tents, the cost of the tents, that type of thing. I'd really like to have the festival over on the property next year. But I don't know if that's feasible because the cost will be a lot more having it over there versus having it here. So I'm not sure if that's even feasible at this point, but we'll see what happens. I haven't put it in the budget, so, but I would like to do that. And anyone else have any questions about my budget? I'm not exciting. I'm sorry. I'm really not.
No, there's a
I'm
lot
not
to,
that excited.
there was a lot to go through. You put it on.
So, and I'm sorry I misunderstood about the percentage increase. Sorry about that.
not a problem,
That's okay.
Pat. Thank you
That's why
very
we're
much.
here.
Thanks for working on it.
No problem.
Now, how about Judge Talon?
All right.
John's awake.
We're good, thank you.
Janice and I had a productive meeting in her office. I think it was last Thursday. We had given my fellow justice some notice of that, but I never heard from him. So it was
Mike,
just.
you gotta talk a little louder so Dan
I
can
have to
hear
speak a
you.
little louder.
Yeah, you do, otherwise Dan
Okay,
can't.
sorry
hear you.
about that. Pretty much, and Janice, please, if I misstate anything, let me know. Everything remains the same, and there aren't any merit requests. There is the COLA of 5.5 that's included there. And the difference between the 2022 budget and the 2023 tentative from 82 and change to 33 and change has to do with what I understand to be the advice that the finance director got so far as handling what the town, how the town characterizes the fines that are collected by the town court. I think previously, and again, correct me, Janice, previously the town took it in as revenue, even though it was earmarked for the state. So it functions as, say, an escrow. So I think there's been that adjustment, but everything else has been the same, and revenues are unpredictable other than the trend, which in my opinion is downward since COVID, based on what I've seen in the past several years. Any questions?
Have revenues increased to pre-COVID levels?
No, I don't think so. And I don't look at it. I don't get that and follow that. I just basically get up there and you know, take each case as it comes through, supervisor, and assess the fines that I deem to be appropriate, given what the plea or what the finding is. And a lot of the work that, you know, speaking from my part of court, a lot of the work has to do with, say, like a dog bite case. You know, you remember that a couple of years ago. That took a lot of time and a lot of hearings, but there isn't any revenue to the town. And the difference between the revenues, say, that the town of Rush gathers has a lot to do with Interstate 390 compared to, say, the revenues of a comparable town like Wheatland or Mendon. So I mean, but it's still not predictable, in my opinion. So all of our costs sort of remain the same, other than the proposed 5.5 increase for cost of living.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any other?
No, sounds good to me.
It does?
Yep.
Okay, if it sounds good to you,
Well,
it sounds.
There's four others.
No, really.
Ian just said no.
No, just check.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Well,
We also have, I think Augie is on.
yeah, but I see John sitting here anxiously awaiting to be called on, so we'll do John
And Sue, me, and Doug are.
and Sue, me and Doug and Augie.
Hello.
Hi,
I'm pretty simple. I've got three budget numbers. We'll start out with the revenue, the 2555. That was $40,000 this year, and next year we're going back to the original 15,000 because we don't have any anticipated solar farms coming in. And it's consistent because this is building department dependent, and we can't predict how many building permits we're going to issue in any one year. Right now, if we take out the $25,000 that we got for NextEra, I'm at about 38,000 right now. So, you know, we're on track to make that 15,000. So, but I just picked up 3 new houses in the last 3 weeks. So, I mean, we're seeing quite a bit this year. So, you know, we've got 15,000 down there as a mark, and hopefully we can exceed that.
Before we go too far, so I did add $1,000 to his revenue line, and that is for Doug's fees. Because Doug is actually in that same line as well. So I added $1,000 for Doug's Scarson's fees.
I prefer that we keep those separate.
that's what the clerk told me where she puts it, and so, I got the number from her.
I think those should be separated so that we've got two distinct budgets,
Two distinct, I agree.
okay? All right,
We can do that.
the second one is my contractual. And last year we had $5,075, and you'll see that's up to 14,446 or 436. And I'm working off of the spreadsheet that I sent you folks. And I put notes on these. There's some reasons for that. The two or the several biggest ones, I got an estimate from Pinpoint to replace my desktop computer and screen. This wasn't done in the last 3 go-rounds, and he told me to use a figure of $5,000 for that new computer. Now, whether they can do that cheaper than that, that's up to them. There's $1,500 in there because the clerk's office has just reinstituted the charging as we print. When we go to the Toshiba copier, we have to enter our code now so that our department gets charged. And I do print quite a few documents. And I do by 11 by 17 paper so that I can do site plans, smaller versions of drawings, things like that. So what I told Pam is she's got a figure of about $6,000 estimated for that. I told her that I would take $1,500 of that and put it in my budget just to be fair with who's doing, you know, a greater percentage of the copying. And then I also added my mileage. This year, when I first started, we put it at $400, and that was a guesstimate. And last year, we went up to $600. And right now, after the second quarter of that $600, I've got $93 left for mileage. And again, that's building permit dependent. So depending on what types of permits I write, you know, they all have different levels of inspection. You know, a new house has 12 or 13 inspections, whereas a tier 1 solar on the roof has 3. So I put that at $1,500. And I mean, we can put it at almost anything, but I just don't know where that number is going to fall out. And I don't want to say, you know, when I hit the $93, I stop doing inspections because I can't do that either. So
Get a bug.
yeah, those the hardware. Oh, I also put in $1,000 for code books because New York State is on track to have the 2024 version of the code books come out. And last time we bought the books in 2020, they were about $650 for the books. And that covers a full set of books and then several extras that Doug and I split. So I put $1,000 in for that. If they don't come out with the 2024 version, you know, we'll just turn that money back, but I wanted to be prepared for it.
ICC publishes the books.
Yes, they do.
When did the state stop giving them to towns?
When the state ran out of money.
Good answer.
There's been a lot of organizations like NISBAC and several others that have tried to supplement that. And that's one of the reasons why I try to get that year-end report into the state as quickly as I can, because that helps you be eligible when they do things like that.
Yes.
But we have no guarantees. And there's another thing you'll see down towards the bottom of my spreadsheet. New this year is going to be the ICC membership that the town has. It's only $145, but it's a new line item. That's something that the supervisor used to carry in his budget, and it rightfully belongs with us. So the same, my actual charges for Edmunds GovTech, we initially put a $200 increase in those services. They cover the 2 licenses that we have to use IPS, and it also covers their maintenance of our tablets. I have contacted Edmunds GovTech to get the exact figures, and I hope to have those, and we'll adjust those, you know, to make sure that they've got, you know, what they're telling us they're going to charge us for 2024. The other increase that I put in, my cell phone stipend right now is $50 a month, and Verizon isn't getting any cheaper, and I upped that to $75 a month as opposed to the 50. So that's up to you folks.
With the increase in permits, you must see an increase in call volume.
I've got unlimited call, text, and data, but they just keep running their fees up, to keep up with T-Mobile and AT&T, whatever. So, and then the last thing is my personal services, and you'll see that that is up, and that's an increase. I consider it a merit raise, and I also have my accomplishments from our last budget period, so you guys could look at that and see why I placed that as the way I did.
Have you benchmarked with other part-time building inspectors?
Yeah, and it's, I said this when we had that accounting firm with us last year. Their claim to fame was that they benchmarked against 28 different municipalities, and it's really a fallacy because you have to look at the individual positions, what the job duties are, what you're asking that person to do, and what they actually do. What do they bring to the table? What's their level of education, experience, that type of thing. So to look at Monroe County right now, I am probably right on par with the folks that have the same education that I do. If you look at full-time, obviously it's different, but the part-time folks, I'm not out of line.
I think for the 23 years that I've watched, I'll put it under one umbrella, code enforcement. I have seen a huge upgrade of education credentials for all the participants, or not all, but most.
The only other thing I've got a request right now, my budget categories are listed as safety inspections, and it's kind of misleading. And I suggested with Janice that we just change those titles to building department, if that's possible. I don't know what the mechanism is for, changing titles or not, but again, I want somebody that's looking through the budget to understand, these, right now, I think the revenue is okay. That's pretty self-explanatory, but, if you look through, safety inspections doesn't necessarily say building inspector. So
I totally agree if it can be, because last year in looking at that, we weren't sure who were we talking about, and then nobody, was it you, was it someone else?
I think legally we can change it to just inspections, but I have a request out to the town association.
Yeah, if we do just inspections, Doug has to do public assembly once a year, and then he's got to do business inspections, commercial inspections every 3 years. So again, building versus, fire marshal, or I won't speak for Doug, but I just think my category is, if we can do that, it'd be, I think, a little more easily understood.
Can we in defining what an inspection by John is, can we use our imagination to decide what that should be?
What do you mean, the title of it?
Well, for example, it has always bothered me that the position is identified as a building inspector. And that is not exactly what it is. It's really a construction inspector.
That would be something that his title would be changed with civil service. So that is something that is, told us by civil service.
Yeah, but I'm not civil service.
All of us have civil service titles.
Well, I've never heard of anybody called safety inspection.
Well, so that's something different. And he's stating for your title, instead of being a building inspector, to have you as a construction inspector, and that would be civil service. This has to deal with the state and what they tell us to eventually, call center. But even if we do inspections, we could always split, Doug and John up, that's not an issue. We can do a 410 and a 420 or, 401. We can figure that out. We can do something else.
Thank you.
John, I have a quick question. The copying, I like to be efficient. I don't like people to have to waste time. Right now, in the number of years you've been here, does your department pay for copies that you run?
I buy 11 by 17 paper because I'm pretty much the only one that uses it. And I buy the heavy yellow cardstock that I print my building permits on. And those are double-sided, colored.
But you don't pay per copy that you run.
Now I do.
No, I'm saying
No, up until now,
before.
no, I have.
So. Again, I'm thinking time efficiency for everyone. So now if you're going to be charged per copy you make, you're going to have to take the time to how does that happen? Do you guys-
I would look, and I'm just spitballing here because I don't have Pam or Val to discuss it with. I would think quarterly, I would go to one of the clerks and say, okay, from Toshiba, what did my department spend this past quarter? So that I can report on it.
So then that comes out of your budget.
Yeah, that's.
But
my
but instead
anticipation.
of just increasing the clerk's budget so that there's just a one-time. I'm just thinking efficiency, the time for the clerk's office to have to write out an invoice or a bill or whatever, however it would work. And then you have to go through and do a transfer of funds or whatever, and then that has to be accepted by them. I'm just, to me, it just seems as, I'm not involved
Not
with this.
sure how the billing will work.
Okay.
I just know that I have my 4-digit code that I have to input, so I'm assuming that Toshiba can say, okay, that 4-digit code spent next, depending on what the rates are. They've got for a 8.5 by 11, a legal size or a ledger size, color versus black and white.
To me, it just, we're all under the same umbrella of serving the public. So just to increase that budget on the clerk's office so that does that mean I have to pay for it? I don't know how that will work. So.
And again, I just thought it was fair that since I do a fair amount of copying and printing, that I should be responsible for it. If there's a better way to do it,
But you haven't up until now, so this
no,
is
this was
something new.
just, I just added
Okay.
this week when we.
All
got
right,
the codes
thanks.
again. Okay?
Yep.
Everybody else set?
I'm all set. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. How about
Who do you want?
Augie?
Let me find him. Augie, are you there? I've just asked you. Oh, here he comes. There he is.
That's Dan.
No.
Oh, that's Augie.
No, you forgot what I look like already. Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone doing tonight?
We're doing fine.
Good, good. My budget is gonna be really, really easy and really, really simple. It's gonna be the same identical as, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna be the same identical to last year. As we are not planning on doing a townwide reassessment next year. So everything is going to stay the same, with the exception of a few more, a little bit more on the budget for the attorney fees, only regarding to the Article 7 for the Weaver family lawsuit that we have. We have an extra attorney fee so far this year, I believe, of about $1,700. So Janice and I have agreed to bump that up for next year to about $3,400, only because they have asked to settle the case, and I believe we may do so before the end of the year. So we just bumped that up to, I believe, an extra $3,400, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right, Janice, in that?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the only increase that we have. If we do, if the town board and the town supervisor agree to do a townwide reassessment in 2025, as we are scheduled to do so, then in next year's budget, we will increase accordingly, like we did in 2020 for the 2021 reassessment, and we will talk about that next year. As far as personal services, Janice is more aware about their clerk's raise, as she is collecting Social Security right now. So her raise will have to coincide with how much she makes, because as you know, there's a limit. And if she goes over that limit, then she'll have to pay 50 cents back on the dollar. So her raise has to pretty much walk on that fine line. And like I said, Janice is very well aware of that, and which I don't believe is very much of a raise at all, if any. And as far as myself, I believe the standard 5.6% that was suggested across the board for just about everyone else, and that's pretty much it.
Augie, as I look at what Janice gave us,
Yes.
you have no equipment. You're not, no new chairs, no new desks, no new, nothing? Okay.
No, we bought a new chair for myself this year. The clerk has a new chair from the previous year, I believe. Our computers are still decent. Our printers are still pretty much running okay. That's pretty much it. So,
Where, Janice, where's the legal? Because I see assessor contractual expenses, and that's up $2,400, but the number I heard Augie give us for legal, is that a separate line item, or is that under contractual?
Put it right in contractual. And he misspoke, it's 34, it's 24.
Oh, it's 24, sorry.
That's
Okay.
okay. I didn't catch it either.
Again, and that's an estimate, just if we settle the case this year. Now, it may happen next year, we don't know. You know how attorneys, how those cases move along with the judge's discretion, and we don't know if that's gonna happen or not.
We just know when we've been doing the abstract this year, Augie, when those type of legal things came in through your office, we want to make sure that they are charged back to the appropriate line item, not just general legal. So
Yes.
Janice has been on top of that, and I thank her for that.
Yes.
All right, that's all my questions.
Augie,
Yes.
I think it is going to be inevitable that we have to do a reassessment, probably in 25, the latest, because I continue to hear about these properties in Rush selling above their listed price.
Yes, unfortunately, the trend has continued, even though they thought at the beginning, at the first quarter of 23, they thought by the third quarter of this year that the trend was going to slow down and buckle down, and there would be more inventory in the market. They thought that the interest rates were going to, if anything, come to a stop and maybe retract somewhat. That is not the case. The interest rates are still at about 7%. So what's happening now is inventory is still low, and those people who have been ready to sell over the last 2 years are not going to let go of their 3 and 3.25% mortgage that they currently own to move into a 7% interest new mortgage. So they're going to hold on to what they have and just stick it out a little longer. And in doing so, the only thing that's selling right now is new homes. And unfortunately, they can't keep up with the high demand right now. So the low inventory out there is still causing those current homes on the market to sell really fast, higher than what the asking prices are. And the only ones really benefiting from that are, unfortunately, I hate to say it, is the realtors, which is, I mean, you know, it's their job and they're doing it quite well, I might say.
So given all that you just said, which were all the reasons why I feel that we're going to have to do one in 24 or 25 at the latest.
25, yes.
Is there any economical way of doing that you know
The only way,
of? If
we
any
could-
of your buddies or partners or associates come up with a formula that will get the job done, but doesn't cost us another $1,000.
well, if you remember back in 2021, we did that pretty much, we did that townwide reassessment at a pretty cheap dime. We didn't pay out for anything. We did it all in-house, myself included. The state, Gary Drake helped us out back then. And the state and myself, I ran all the informals. We ran all the numbers in-house. Like I said, we did 2 months of informals, and we did all the grievances, so that that didn't cost us much money at all. We are probably going, and then we even got some money back from the state, if you remember, to the tune, I believe it was $2 or $3.75 per parcel. We are probably going to do the same thing over again. The only thing it's going to cost us is, stamps and extra money on printers. And this time I plan on probably doing maybe some more PR work, maybe doing some more newspaper articles, or maybe a whole have some town hall meetings, maybe in late 2024. To maybe inform the residents a little bit more, only because this, I believe this increase is going to be a little bit more intrusive than the last one. The last one, I remember the town average was about 28%. I think this is going to be a little bit heftier, only because of what the market has been showing over the last 3 years. Personally, I believe that the average increase is going to be over 35%, 35 to 40%, which is going to be quite hefty. But remember, we don't create the market. We only report what the market is doing, which means that that 35% is probably going to be around the average. So we're going to try to inform the public a little bit more. We're going to put out some articles. We're going to have some more town hall meetings where I can show up and answer questions. We'll do probably a sessions of question and answers with the assessor, wanting to inform the public and hopefully dismiss some of the myths out there and kill some questions and answer some questions that the residents may have. And hopefully we'll have a smooth townwide reassessment. And we're going to try and ward off the TVs and the newspaper, the agitators, so to speak, who love to get their ratings by agitating residents and reporting not on behalf of the town's better intent, but maybe on creating more angst, which is how they get their ratings, I hate to say. So hopefully we'll be trying to stay one step ahead of them, and hopefully get them off the town board's back as well, because the last time, as you remember, you guys got a lot of flack, a lot of phone calls, and hopefully we'll be able to keep those questions off your guys and hopefully deflect them to my shoulder, so to speak, or my department, so to speak.
Yes, everything you said is true. And I think doing all of that stuff, the media coverage, the education, the training, all of that stuff will reduce the number of complaints up front before they really know what the impact is going to be and them as individuals.
Yes, I think
if you correlate the number of complaints that we received just before and during the reassessment, and compare that to people's assessment or tax, actual out-of-pocket tax payment going up, it didn't.
Yeah, if you remember, the complaints were great during the reassessment, and then they just quiet down right after it was done, and right after they got their tax bill, we heard nothing else. As soon as they got their tax bill, they realized that all that hoopla that was done, all that media coverage and all that screaming and chanting was really for nothing. Most of their tax bill did not increase that much. Unfortunately, this time, there's gonna be a little bit more increase, Jerry. These prices have gone through the roof. They're not, remember, the last time we were in a normal real estate market situation. This time, stuff that's, out there for 250 is selling for 370. It's not like it used to be. People were asking 250 and 3 weeks later it was selling for 230. Now they're asking 250 and within 2 days it's selling for 370. That's a whole different ball game. And unfortunately, that's affecting not only them, but also their neighbors. So there's going to be huge swings, and we're going to try and prepare the residents as best we can, and they know what's happening. Unfortunately, there's always going to be those same people who are, squeaky wheels. Let's call them that. And we know who they are, and they've always been there, and they're going to be squeaking a little more. But hopefully, when the other residents are well informed, and hopefully we'll do the best that we can to inform them, hopefully they will quiet them down, and we'll have a smoother, at least somewhat of a smooth, townwide reassessment. Again, the focus is to keep the TV and the journalists who are going to try and create angst by going to the residents. And remember, when someone says my house increased $90,000, that's crazy. Well, if it was worth 120, it increased 90,000, that's crazy. But if it's assessed at 700,000 and it increased 90,000, that's not really much, is it? So we need to look at percentages. So, but that's not what the TVs will do. The TVs will just go, I can't believe it. It went up, that much. They won't talk about the other side because, again, they try to create abrasiveness, and that's what they try to do. That's how they get you to watch at 11 tonight. So hopefully we'll try to keep those guys away from us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you very much for hearing me out tonight.
Thank you.
Well, that was a practice presentation because you got to get ready to do that to the masses a year to 2 years from now.
Yes. Yes. Thank you again.
You.
And a good evening.
Anyone else have questions? Nope. All right. Thank you, Augie.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Danny, she got to use the microphone. I'm sorry.
Augie, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So you're gonna be doing mailings, roughly, I just calculated it should be about a $2,000 expense just to do one mailing to everybody in Rush. Is that something that you figured into your budget?
Yeah, so we're gonna mail, so every resident's parcel is gonna be affected one way or another. 95% of them are probably going to increase, but every single 1,866 parcel, I believe, is going to get a letter. So at whatever the price of that stamp is, we're going to budget for that. Besides the paper that we need to print on, but the stamp, yes, the envelope, yes.
I was just thinking if you're gonna start doing meetings in 24
Yes.
or 25, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of just figuring that in.
What you're saying is we should put it into this year's budget, you're saying?
So if you're gonna start doing the meetings in 24 and you're gonna do the mailing in 24, then yes, it needs to be added into this budget that we're doing.
Well, those letters are probably not gonna go out until February of 2025, though.
Okay.
The meetings won't cost us money, but the letters and the information packets going out will be going out at the very beginning of 2025.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you both.
All right. Good night.
Let's go to Doug Scarson. Doug, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Hello there.
All right. You've had a lot of opportunity to see how it's done, so have at it.
I don't really have anything to add to a budget request. Except for that, I would like to purchase a program that would be used for code enforcement and fire marshal duties, something that's different than the BAS program that currently is used by the building department. And the reason for that is that this department really, or I'm sorry, that this web-based unit just basically does almost everything for you. It has the code in it. It has all the addresses in it, et cetera, et cetera.
I would like to talk to you about that before the budget process is complete.
Okay, very good.
Janice, can you help us understand again, because we have 3410 100 fire personnel service, and then we have 864 100 and 400 code enforcement. Is that Doug?
Yes.
Both of those are Doug, and he stated that he does more of a 50-50 role between fire marshal and code enforcement. So
Okay.
he asked you, so I believe his code enforcement actually went down, his fire marshal went up, and we split everything 50-50.
Okay.
Including his increase for the program and stuff like that. I just took his numbers and then split them pretty.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else have questions for Doug? Dan Wolf?
Do we have any idea how much that software costs?
Right around the 11,000 figure, sir.
Councilperson Morelli?
I guess I would like to know more about that software, and is that something that is already, we have software, IBS apparently. And is this software that could be used by both the building inspector and code enforcement officer? And why wouldn't we coordinate that? Just a thought, just want to understand.
Doug, do you want to answer that?
I do agree with you, councilperson, and I think probably the best thing would be to do is to show everybody a demo, or show whomever a demo, and show you exactly what it does compared to what you currently have.
Because maybe we could get rid of one. I mean, and if it has the same information that you need, both of you, I think we should talk about it.
I agree.
It's also used by the clerk's office, clerks and code enforcement do that, and they do documents and so it has the ability to do anything for fees on.
Which software are you talking about?
The IBS.
The one they
IBS,
currently have?
Yeah, the clerks and Java. So I just want to make sure we can't quite get rid of that without another department in there too.
I just want asking, do these programs overlap? Is this other one better? Would it
Right.
work for the clerks as well to do the other permits?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, find out.
Okay,
No, that is a good question.
okay.
And Doug, what is the yearly fee? for
Janice, you gotta go to the microphone. I know.
that? Doug, what is the yearly fee for that?
You can sit at the table right here.
Take the mic with you.
It depends on the number of people that are using it again. And so I think there would be a wash because the IPS versus this one, when it changes, there wouldn't be the same yearly fee.
I would have to it would have to be talked between the supervisor and the clerks and everybody. I mean, if the clerks and John Limbeck are comfortable with the system they're using, why would you want to change to something that might be different? I don't know. I think
This system wouldn't work for the clerks, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
No, this is just,
Supervisor said,
this
you
is
wanna
just,
talk to them about it? Talk and get back to us.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay.
Anything else?
No?
Thank you very much, Doug. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Good night.
And
Good night.
now we will have Sue Me.
Hello. My budget, I think, request is pretty straightforward, and it's actually less than last year's, because last year I had requested and the town board graciously agreed to funding to restore the West Rush Cemetery. So obviously I'm not requesting that level of funding this year. If you've looked at my request, it's broken into 3 areas. One for research and access. Those would be, you know, this ancestry subscription, newspaper, digital subscriptions, and some different magazine subscriptions and other publications. And then I have a second category, and that's $1,000. Second category of membership and conference fees. So those are just different organizations and groups that I have become a member of over the last several years, and their annual cost. That's a total of $995, and it's as high as it is because of the potential request to attend the Association of Public Historians of New York State. So I put in that conference fee. The fees aren't, or the funding is not published as yet, but based on past conferences, I estimated what the cost would be. And then the third area or category, the costs that I would consider preservation and collection expenses. So that was purchasing archival supplies and materials, photo printing, framing and preservation, collection development. If I was to purchase items, I scan eBay regularly and find occasionally some Rush items, postcards, photos, different documents. And if I can get those at a reasonable cost, I purchase them and add them to our Rush history collection. And then the other last item that I had put in was for the potential purchase of 2 additional interpretive signs. The interpretive signs are the same type of sign that is in the Veterans Memorial Park, but I would like to ultimately have one further over in the Veterans Park where the mill tower stood at one time, and we could include some, you know, text, some narrative, along with photos of what once stood in that location. I think the park area, the dam, gets a lot of use, people fishing or just, you know, being in that area. And I suspect there's probably a fair number of people that have no idea what used to be there. And just as a educational piece, I'd like to have some signage with photos that illustrates what was there. And that's all. My total budget request is $7,395, probably one of the smaller ones of which you've received, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Go ahead.
I have none, but I have you telling me a lot of stuff all the time, so.
I would like to, given everyone that we've heard so far has had a cost of living added to their, she does not have that, so I would.
This is not the place for that.
I know.
But I agree with.
I'm just pointing out that it's not in here, so. I'll be quiet.
Dan?
Nope.
Dan?
He's muted, of course.
Nope. Sounds good.
Raleigh?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good. I know you're good, but I'm good also. And thank you very much, Sue.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
And last but not least, Phyllis, do you have a budget to present?
Sorry.
Oh,
I
good.
mean, I did get a request to unmute and turn my video on. It was like,
Did I do that by mistake?
yeah, when you went for soup.
Oh, okay. Sorry about
I think
that.
she meant me.
Sorry about that.
So no, but can I just say, I do appreciate having all of the department heads come back. Because it's very informative for the public to hear their explanation of why. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Janice, I want to thank you for your coordination of this meeting, and we will see you again. Having no further business to conduct, I therefore adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.